Level 1. The Farmer. You wake up before the sun, the way your father did, and his father before him. The floor of your house is packed earth. The walls are mud, brick, and bamboo. You share 2 rooms with your parents, your wife, and 3 children. None of you have ever seen the ocean. Your hands are cracked from 20 years of rice paddies. The mud gets into every line on your palms and never fully washes out. You wade into cold water before breakfast to check the irrigation channels. Your youngest son follows you behind, carrying the hoe. He's too small to swing properly yet. You grow rice, you grow a little millet on the higher ground. Most of what you grow isn't yours. A share goes to the landlord, a share goes to the tax collector, and what's left is what your family eats until next harvest. Some years there's enough, some years there isn't. You have never held a British coin. You have never spoken to a foreigner. You wouldn't know what one looked like if he walked past your field. But you know something is wrong. Because your cousin came back from working near the coast 3 years ago and he isn't the same man anymore. He used to laugh loudly at festivals. Now he sits in the corner of family gatherings, thin, quiet, his eyes somewhere else. He sold his partner's jewelry last spring. Nobody says the word out loud in front of the children, but you all know opium. You don't fully understand where it comes from. You've heard it's grown far away, brought by ships, sold by men your emperor calls barbarians. What you understand is simpler. Your taxes went up again this year, and the local magistrate's clerk told your father it's because the empire is losing silver. You don't know what that means for an emperor. You know what it means for you, less rice for your family, and a debt to the landlord that grows every season. It isn't paid. You go to sleep when it's dark, because oil for the lamp costs money you don't have to waste on light. Tomorrow you wake up before the sun again. You have no vote in any of this. You have never heard the word Opium War. You will feel every consequence of it anyway. Level 2. The Addict. You did not start this way. 6 years ago you were a clerk in a grain merchant's shop in a town near the coast. Good with numbers, respected enough that your neighbors greeted you by name. The first pipe was at a friend's wedding celebration. Everyone was smoking that night. It felt warm and slow, and for the first time in your life, quiet inside your own head. You did not think about it again for months. The second time was harder to explain, even to yourself. Now you live in a room above the opium den you can no longer stay away from. The walls are stained yellow-brown from smoke that soaked into the plaster for years before you ever arrived. You know every crack in the ceiling above your sleeping mat because you spend most of your hours staring up at it. You sold your writing brushes 8 months ago. You sold your good coat the month after that. Your wife took your 2 children to live with her brother 11 months ago, and you told yourself at the time that it was temporary. Your hands shake now if too many hours pass between pipes. Your appetite is a stranger to you. You remember distantly the man who used to check the ledgers by candlelight and take pride in never making an error. You are not entirely sure where he went. There are men in this den from every walk of the empire. A former soldier from a coastal garrison, a magistrate's runner, a farmer's son who came to the city looking for work and found this instead. Opium does not check anyone's rank before it takes hold. It only asks whether you have something left to sell. Level 3. The Hong Merchant. Your house has 40 rooms. Silk hangs on walls that most people in this empire will never see from the inside. You employ more servants than most villages have families. You wake up in a bed with silk sheets imported from a workshop 3 provinces away. Your steward, a man named Old Pank, who has served your family for 22 years, brings you tea and the morning's shipping reports before you fully open your eyes. You are one of perhaps a dozen men in this entire empire licensed to trade legally with foreigners through the port of Canton, under a system that has made your family staggeringly wealthy across 3 generations. Your grandfather started with a single warehouse. You now own 6. But you are also by law personally responsible for every foreign merchant assigned to your license, and this year that has become a very dangerous thing to be. British ships anchor offshore now, past the reach of your inspectors, unloading opium onto smaller boats in the dead of night. You did not authorize this. You cannot stop this. But when the commissioner arrives in Canton, demanding the opium trade end, it is men like you who get summoned first, questioned first, and blamed first. Because you are the visible face of a system that was never built to control what's happening now. You sit in your study at night, going over your ledgers by lamplight, and for the first time in your life as a merchant, you genuinely do not know whether your fortune or your freedom will still belong to you a year from now. Level 4, the magistrate. You spent 19 years of your life preparing for this post. You memorized the analects before you turned 10. You sat the imperial examinations 3 times before you passed. The first 2 attempts ended in humiliation, watching your name absent from the list posted outside the examination hall, while other men's families celebrated around you. Now you have a seal of office, a modest yamen with a courtyard, and a district of 40,000 people, who are in theory your responsibility to govern. You wake to a line of petitioners already waiting outside your gate, a land dispute between 2 brothers, a complaint about a stolen ox, and this morning a new kind of case that keeps appearing on your docket more and more often. A wife accusing her husband of selling their furniture, their tools, even their roof tiles to pay for opium. You have laws for theft. You have laws for land disputes. You do not have adequate laws for this, because nothing in your 19 years of classical education prepared you for a crisis spreading through your district faster than you can write reports about it. You know exactly where the opium enters, foreign ships anchored just past the edge of your jurisdiction. Technically in waters you have no authority over. You can arrest the local smugglers who distribute it inland. You cannot touch the ships. You write reports to your superiors describing the scale of the problem. You are not certain anyone above you is reading them carefully. Level 5, the Green Standard Soldier. You joined the Green Standard Army at 17 because your family needed the wage more than they needed you at home. You are 26 now, stationed at a coastal garrison you have never heard of before you were assigned here. Your uniform is patched in 3 places. Your pay arrived 2 months late last time, and the time before that. Your matchlock musket is a design that was already old when your father was young. You've heard rumors about British ships, cannons that fire faster, hulls that don't burn the way wood should, but you've never seen one yourself. Half the men in your unit smoke opium when they can afford it. Your sergeant does too. Nobody reports it, because everybody would have to report everybody. Then, one morning in 1841, you see the ships. They are larger than anything you've imagined. Black hulls moving against the wind in a way that shouldn't be possible. The fort you're stationed at has stood for over 100 years. It takes the British fleet less than a single afternoon to reduce sections of it to rubble. You survive. Many of the men beside you do not. You retreat inland with what's left of your unit, carrying a wounded friend on your back for the last 2 miles, and you understand in a way no report from Beijing ever explained to you that everything you were trained to do no longer matters against what just happened. Level 6, the Imperial Commissioner. You are Lin Zhu, or a man cut from the same cloth. The Emperor has handed you a mandate that will break most officials. Travel to Canton and end the opium trade by any means necessary. You arrive in March 1839, and you do not hesitate. You blockade the foreign trading compound. You cut off food and servants to the merchants inside until they surrender their stockpiles. Within weeks, you have over 1,000 tons of British opium in your custody. You destroy it publicly, deliberately, in trenches dug along the shore, mixed with lime and salt, dissolved, flushed out to the sea over nearly 3 weeks in front of the witnesses, so that no one can accuse you of secretly reselling what you seized. It takes hundreds of workers to manage the operation. You oversee it personally, standing at the edge of the pits some days, watching decades of lucrative and destructive trade dissolve into salt water. You write a letter to Queen Victoria yourself. You ask her, in careful and formal language, how a nation that forbids opium within its own borders can, in good conscience, profit from selling it into someone else's. You believe sincerely that reasonable people, confronted with this argument, will see the injustice of it. The letter never receives a reply that matters. Within months, what you did in those trenches becomes Britain's stated justification for war. Not the addiction, not the millions of lives it has ruined, but the destroyed property of British merchants. You did everything asked of you, by every standard of duty available to a man in your position. History is about to punish you for it anyway. Level 7. The Manchu Banner General. You command banner troops, descendants of the Manchu conquerors who founded this dynasty 2 centuries ago. Still the most prestigious military force in the empire. Still trained in traditions of horsemanship and archery that have not meaningfully changed in generations. You are proud of your men. You have reason to be. Better equipped, better disciplined than the green standard garrisons you sometimes work alongside. You do not yet fully understand what you are about to face. When the British fleet moves up the coast, city after city falls faster than any report reaching you can account for. You watch modern artillery reduce fortifications that have defended this coastline for 100 years into broken stone within hours. Your cavalry, magnificent against an enemy your training prepared you for, has no answer for ships that can strike from the water faster than your riders can reach the shore. You are not a coward. The men who die under your command are not cowards. You are commanding a military built for a war 2 centuries in the past, against a navy built for the one actually happening around you. And no personal courage closes the gap that wide. Level 8, the Ground Council Minister. You sit in a room in Beijing that smells of ink and old wood, advising the Emperor on matters that will decide the fate of the entire empire. And you are increasingly certain that almost nobody in this room actually understands what is happening on the coast. Reports arrive from the south describing losses. By the time those reports climb through 6 layers of officials to reach this room, they have been softened, reframed, made less alarming, because the officials sending them upwards know exactly what happens to the career of a man who delivers bad news to the throne. You argue for a harder line 1 week. A colleague argues for negotiations in the next. Neither of you has accurate information about British naval technology, because nobody in this empire has prioritized that information in over a century of assumed superiority. This room, more than any battlefield, is where the war is actually being lost. Level 9, the Emperor, Daoguang Emperor, and you sit at the absolute top of the largest population on Earth, a position your family has held for 200 years, ruling a civilization that has never seriously doubted its own superiority until now. You approved the mission that sent Lin Zhu to Canton. You believed, as he did, that destroying the opium was simply justice. You did not expect it to ignite a war. Your empire was catastrophically unprepared to fight. In August 1842, a brother British warship anchored off Nanking. Your representatives signed a treaty you never wanted and barely understand the full weight of. Hong Kong passes to Britain. 5 ports open to foreign trade on terms dictated to you, not negotiated by you. A massive indemnity in silver is imposed. And the opium, the actual cause of everything that just happened, is not meaningfully addressed at all. It will continue flowing into your empire for decades after your death. You sit at the very top of everyone in this story, and from up here in 1842, the view is watching 2 centuries of certainty collapse in less than 3 years. While the farmer in his rice paddy, the addict in his stained room, the merchant in his 40-room house, and every rank in between, absorb the consequences of a war that almost none of them, including you, ever truly had the power to stop. Thank you for watching and good night.